Yeah, yeah, it's too bad we didn't get any juicy targets. That was a yeah, we got them Russians were on point.
Dying to bring you the news. This is No Style Fred with the New Eden Times. Today I spoke with Cattraknoff, CEO at the legitimate business Man's Club.
Oh yeah, that was an ancient. Basically, it was a Nullsec pirate group that was operating out of Syndicate region in the west. And we kind of dominated the area. Like there was no one that fucked with us for a fairly decent span. Some alliances tried, but they usually got slaughtered just because we tended to have way better combat skills because that's all we did. While they did like mining and stuff, and back then, like there was no faster way to skill. You just trained at the rate you did, right? So if you went down the mining way, you weren't gonna fight anytime soon, right? So we had that kind of free reign of Syndicate where TLBC was allied to MooCorp, who are the most famous pirates of Eve. But yeah, eventually the big alliances kind of got tired of it. They did train some people that could fight a little better, and they end up basically occupying Syndicate for a while. And you know, the Pirate Alliance was vanquished after our several month reign of terror. And yeah, like it. Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't possible at the time for a while. Because yeah, they had a big interest in keeping the trade lane from Syndicate open. Like it was at the time they were called Fountain Alliance, just named after the region of Fountain. But they were one of the big ones for a while back in the early days, and they had a vested interest in having the trade lane through Syndicate to Empire open because that was the only way to get there. There were no like jump freighters or anything like that to avoid that kind of need, right? So the only way to ship stuff was just with regular haulers, and you had to patrol that whole route, and they had to go through Syndicate. So the fact that we were always camping PF 346, which is the road into Empire, became too much for them to tolerate. And when they had the ability to drive us out, they did because they had bigger numbers and stuff. Yeah, after that, kind of just went our own way, and a lot of us went and joined random nullsec alliances. I did. I was never going back to Empire, but yeah, I don't know. There's definitely sacrifices that come with joining those alliances a lot of the time. Like they have many expectations of their people, and fair enough for them, I guess. But yeah, it can definitely get grating when it's too much. And yeah, that's here we've got the chill vibes and freedom, and we're gonna conquer the galaxy with those things by playing for fun and encouraging other people to do so. And I'm hoping to maybe eventually one day win the community support in what we're doing, and yeah.
It says here you've been playing EVE Online since launch in 2003.
Well, I was playing in beta, and then yeah, after release, it took me a couple of weeks to get money to pay for the game. I was a teenager or whatever, right? So it was like got the money after a couple of weeks, and yeah, started playing then, and yeah.
And it looks
So
like
yeah, I was around during the old days, and that's kind of where my point of comparison is, because like I took like a decade off, right? I was had real life things going on and whatever got in the way, and for various reasons I quit the game for a while, for more than a decade. But when I left, and even the entire time prior to that, like there were a couple bigger kind of dominant alliances. Like there was Bob, who was the big one at the time, Band of Brothers, which is the one that the goons basically killed and replaced and became the new Bob, but like a worse more disgusting version of them. In terms of what they're trying to do to the galaxy. So yeah, like when I left, like the map was painted many colors. Like if you looked at like, people had like maps they made of different alliances and what they controlled or whatever. I'm sure they still exist, but they would be all different colors. Like you'd see in Nullsec, there'd be probably 20 to 30 different groups that were all fairly similar size, and then you might have like a couple of them that are a little bit bigger and control like, maybe 2-3 regions as their core space or something like that. But not like anywhere near to the degree that Goon and PanFam are doing. Which yeah, like the only place in the galaxy now that kind of looks like it used to is like the southeast, kind of like Faithabilis, Amis, Impasse, Tenerifis, Immensia, Wicked Creek, that kind of area, like up the eastern, there's like what, maybe 10 regions over there that kind of still look like the old Nullsec, but the rest has all just been absorbed into one of the mega blobs. And I mean, I don't like what's gonna like. It probably won't be that long before there's another one in the southeast or one of the two big ones take over there, right? So yeah, I don't know. I see it as dangerous when like it's possible that it's already bad enough where there's like 2 blocks, but what happens if like somehow one eliminates the other, and all the losers join into the winner, and then what's gonna happen to the server then? Like it'd be dead and boring, and yeah, I'd much rather avoid that possibility at all, while also just kind of like I just want to shake things up, break up the big blocks, so we can have more interesting fights again, and we can have fights without it needing to be like a total, thing where you've got to risk everything just to have a war or something, or yeah, like well, what it is, I think, like so many people don't want to take risks in the game, and they want to minimize risk, and they think that's like a way to play the game, which yeah, has a place in some extent, but it if you always play it safe, you're having no fun here. There's no way you're having fun here. You got to take risks, and you got to get killed, and it's just something that happens, and you have to live with it, and it's fine. Like you lose, okay, you lose a ship, get another one. Oh, you got to work for it. Well, work for it then. It's how that's how the game is. But there is a lot of people out there that their main concern is watching their numbers go up. They want their money to always go up and everything to always go up because that's how they measure their progress. When really the only thing you really have to care about is your skill points. That's what lets you fly stuff here. Your money, yeah, okay, matters a bit, but like if watching numbers go up is more important to you than just playing the game and having fun, I'd say there's something wrong. But that's kind of the Care Bear mentality. And these big alliances appeal to the Care Bears who just want to play everything safe. They're like, yeah, you can come out to Nullsec, make the big bucks, and it'll be super safe for you because we got this big blob to protect you. Like, you saw that one blob? Well, the goons can do worse, and people like them. Like, they've been known to sometimes drop a bunch of Titans on a fucking random Roman gang or whatever just to be stupid. So but they're not doing that right now because they're currently getting their asses handed to them in a war. Because yeah, some of our enemies have some insane. One of the guys, they like to try and bait you with a couple of strategic cruisers, which you might think you can kill them or whatever. Which yeah, sure we could have in some situations. But then if you ever do try to kill them, what they're gonna do is drop like 5 Black Ops battleships on you with a Sino Zero field. Just jump them straight in from wherever they are. And I have a feeling they've got more in reserve. Like, I have a feeling they have a couple of dreadnoughts sitting on standby there, too, probably. And they just drop in the 5 Black Ops as, like, the first escalation. And, yeah, I have a feeling there's more waiting. So we're kind of making plans to eventually, yeah, destroy those Black Ops with the strat cruisers and anything else that will show up, like dreadnoughts and whatever we like. Yeah, I want to. I don't know how soon and how long it'll take to prepare and stuff, but you know, when we're able, yeah, I want to wipe their whole fleet that they are going to jump in after us. Good sax is the alliance. Good sax, like saxophone. Yeah, they don't want us to live in Stain, and they're gonna try to grief us out of it, basically. Not that Stain is like Stain is stupidly underpopulated, and they're honestly idiots for I don't know. Well, I guess maybe not. Maybe they're kind of smart, even if it's for dumb reasons. Because I mean, letting some people live in Stain would probably be good for them if they wanted more targets and people to fight. But in terms of what we plan on doing, regardless, maybe it is good that they're trying to keep us out because we do plan on taking over the region. And those who aren't willing to cooperate or at least come to some kind of amicable terms before we get too pissed off at them, well, they're gonna have to leave at some point. Because when I've got 5,000 members in here populating the entire region, as I plan to, with many people in each system, just there ratting and whatever, and in frontiers where maybe they feel more confident sending stuff, we can just rat in frigates, and that's fine. And if they try and gank my new bros, well, you know, we'll see what happens then. Some of our frigates might have some Sinos carrying around someday, who knows? But yeah, we'll make something happen there. And yeah, I plan on, I don't know how long it'll take, but I don't know, within a year, I'd like to be the only group insane, maybe, or at least have established ourselves as the dominant power here. And I'm sure it won't take a year, like really. At our current rate of growth, probably a couple months at most before we're starting to make them regret pissing us off. And even then, like, yeah, it's all going to start progressing a lot faster, I think. Yeah, we're going to get some plans. Yeah, we're going to be dominant and sane. There may be a couple of groups be allowed to continue to exist as long as, yeah, I mean, they stay respectful. And, I mean, if they're going to fight us, at least don't camp my fucking new bros in a station, because that is unforgivable to me, honestly. If you don't let my new bros at least, like, try and play the game, like, you know, come for an odd roam and gank, that's fine. I don't mind that, right? But, like, you know, camping them in the station, that's low. Like, no, I have no respect for that. So those groups need to be annihilated. However long it takes, they're still not ever going to be my main goal, but I will never have peace with those people after what they've tried to do to my new bros. So it's not happening. Good sacks, they're never going to be welcome and sane again. And then, yeah, some of the other guys, like, even if they want to be independent, I might, you know, it might be okay. Like the Chinese up in T-8 Constellation, they just mind their own business mostly, so I don't really have a problem with that as long as we come to agree not to shoot each other at some point. That might happen. Yeah, I tend to dominate Stain, but not just Stain. Like, you know, we plan on way more than that. Like, after we have a solid foothold in Stain, I tend to return to Syndicate and make some inroads in Syndicate, destroy the two alliances that are currently kind of there. One's the Castabouts. I forget what the name of the other one is. Doesn't really matter. They're like allied to them, so basically they're the same thing. But yeah, we'll eventually start pushing up into Syndicate and possibly Curse as well, another pirate region. Syndicate might be our next one, but it depends on kind of the situation on the ground as it happens, right? If we get opportunities that makes one thing look like a really good thing, we might go for that thing. Dane is going to be our main base, our main region, but we do have plans of taking multiple pirate regions and eventually maybe all of them, even though some big alliances might have something to say about that someday. I know the Horde owns Venel, which is an NPC region, I'm pretty sure, pirate region, so, you know, we'd have to come for that someday if we do want them all, which, yeah, maybe. um, yeah, I don't know, I set my highs, my sights, high from the beginning, you know, like, it's not, well, I mean, well, I might as well tell a secret, because, you know, our main enemy is, the big three, we could call them, or big four, big 10, anyone big. You know, we want to kill them all. And the biggest ones, especially, we want to make them not big anymore by destroying their alliance morale and breaking apart those big coalitions. That's kind of our mission in the galaxy. And everything we do along that path is some kind of step toward that, which is going to be like, you know, the ways that as far as I can see at the time, that's whatever seems like a step along that path. I'm going to take that step if I can. And, you know, part of that is growing big, training up our new members, you know, fighting people, having fun. And that's one thing here. At our heart, we're, you know, really chill for fun corp. You know, if when we fight, even when we fight the big guys, it's still gonna be for fun, and we're gonna do it in our own way. Like lots of roaming gangs, not so many big fleet blob things where you're just waiting around for stuff to happen most of the time. You know, we'll go and make stuff happen, and you know, harass their miners, not let them mine anywhere. You know, whatever tactics it takes to enjoy the war, because I think that's the mistake many alliances make when they try to there was a big coalition a couple years back tried to kill the goons who have been the dominant power for a while, although Horde's kind of taken over now, I guess. But the mistake they make is that kind of they commit to the way wars are normally fought, I guess, right? Which is just try and take space and, you know, really only caring about sovereignty when that's not what, for one thing, threatens the goons. If they lose all their space, that improves their morale. So you need something else to kind of chip away at their power base. But yeah, like if you're not having fun fighting your war, like I don't think you're gonna end up winning it, especially against an enemy like them, right? Like you have to enjoy that and enjoy trying to find ways to make their lives miserable so that they have reason to maybe quit their alliance someday, you know? Like if we're up in their space and they're never allowed to mine, they're never allowed to do whatever they want to do up there, if they're always just being harassed and having to react to everything that we're doing, and if half the time it's just in you know, cheap T1 kind of destroyers and frigates and cruisers and shit, when they're, you know, having to muster a fleet just to deal with that and not even really get anything out of it, and they're not even killing anything valuable, while we're able to, through that, cost them more risk that they could have been earning just from the opportunity cost, right? Where they could have been making this, but instead they had to fleet up and chase us around for a bit. So, you know, that's how I kind of intend to destroy them, is that just completely waste all of their time when I have enough players behind me to do it. You know, we're having fun just raiding them. They're not having fun just chasing us around for very little. And keeping being annoyed that they have to keep responding to these calls to arms, and it is a rule in their factions that they have to respond to these calls to arms, right? So we're going to use their own rules against them. You know, they're expected to show up, and if they don't, we know they lose points, especially in the goons or whatever. Like, you know, they're expected to do a certain level of participation and contribution there. And if we can just make it really, really annoying, like extra annoying to have to live up to that, like to where they're basically never free to do what they want and they're just always on these stupid little fucking response operations or whatever. You know, I think that might actually be something that could chip away at them and start making corporations and or people and corporations and even like secondary alliances in these coalitions start rethinking what they're doing. And if they see us having fun killing them, you know, maybe we'll even seduce some of them to join our side. And you know, they can have they can still say if they're controlling some stuff, especially as like a subsidiary alliance, you know, I'm perfectly willing to cut a deal with them where we'll kind of support them with the raids, and they just try to take to hold their sov and not let the goons take them out of it, or whoever their overlord is, right? So basically, just tell them, we'll help you. You're gonna fight the sov fight as best you can, and we'll try to make their lives miserable while you do, and maybe we'll contest their sov a bit, maybe in like distraction ways, like hit a bunch of little places all over the place that are far away from where the main fronts of the war are. Yeah, I mean yeah, that's just the best way I see to fight it. Like for one thing, I don't want the blob battle, and yeah, I just think that will be more effective anyway. Like every time it's ever come to that, like the goons have never died, or whoever the target alliance was hasn't died from it. That's not how you kill an alliance. Like you've got to break their morale. Um, And the way to do that is to maybe just frustrate them forever, or there's got to be something like that where you have to change the cost benefit calculation that the players make, where it seems like joining a big group like the Horde or the Goons is the safest way to progress in the game. So yeah, I mean we have to find a way to shift that to where actually it would be better to join someone that's not the Goons, who isn't being actively targeted by this if it's us, then maybe it'd be better to join someone that's not being actively raided all across their space, just because they happen to be too big, you know. And what is too big to me? Well, that would be certainly anything approaching the goon size. Like they're way too big, and they need to be knocked down several pegs. What would be more of an acceptable size? Like just like the old classic alliance size, where you'd control a couple few regions. You'd have your 5, maybe these days maybe 10,000 members, but like you don't need these blocks which are trying to control half the galaxy each. Like that's way too much, and it makes politics boring, which I don't want. Like I want to bring back a multicolored map and have all different factions fighting each other all the time, instead of just like waiting around for occasionally these two giant powers come and fight each other and break the server a bit, and yeah, it's just far less people are having fun in Nullsec these days, and there's far less interesting going on, and I'd like to change that.
What are your thoughts on mining?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that you're not allowed to mine here. It's just we recommend you don't, because especially okay, if you're a guy who's already got 6 accounts and you mine on them, because that's the way to mine, then sure, go for it. But if you're just a one account player and you don't necessarily intend on getting another account anytime soon, I would definitely just say go ratting or agent missions or anything that's not mining. Mining is most efficient in a group. The bigger the group, the better. But the thing also is, with those big groups, you'll tend to be in a corp. That corp will want some portion of whatever is mined, like 20, whatever, some percentage. So yeah, I mean, there's reasons not to want to mine. I don't recommend mining for anyone that is not like an absolute pacifist that would never shoot anything, but you're still shooting rocks. That's violent. Those poor rocks. Think of the Veldspar. It's got feelings too. But yeah, we're geared toward PvE and PvP. PvP is like primary, but PvE we're gonna always have to do a fair bit of that. And the nice thing there is that PvE and PvP skills kind of overlap, like 90%. You only just need a few other things here and there for whatever, right? Um, so yeah, if you're training for PvE, that means you can also PvP if you want to, which is good, even for a player who does not consider themselves bloodthirsty or itchy for a fight. For one thing, try it and see how fun it is. But even if you don't necessarily, it's not your favorite thing, it's a lot better to be able to defend yourself than not, and to know how to fight back than not, right? Um, yeah, you can be an armed sheep, or yeah, become one of the wolves instead, or something. But yeah, you don't want to be like an absolute pacifist. Like, even if you stay in Empire, try to play it safe 100%. Someone's gonna come suicide gank you. Even if it's not profitable, like even if you're doing all the right things, you make your ship cheap, so you're not profiting much anyway because you're not in a good mining ship up there being a Care Bear. And, you know, you don't invite a suicide gank, right? As you would if you were in a good mining ship up there. Like, yeah, they'll suicide gank your hull, and they'll profit while doing it. But, yeah, even though they might not, some people might not profit, there are suicide gankers out there who will do it just because you're trying to be safe and they don't respect that and they want you to not be a Care Bear, or if you are, they want to punish you for it in some way. So they will accept dying, but to Concord in order to just kill some Care Bear guy that they have seen mining too much in Empire.
How can players join your corporation?
Well, you can just message me in game, Cattraknoff, Cattraknoff, or look up the Legitimate Business Man's Club. All separate words, like businessman is not one word in our corp. It was in the old one. I made it a man's club. I don't know. I thought it was funny. Yeah. So yeah, like I actually read it like that. It's like the Legitimate Business Man's Club. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of legitimate business here. We have strictly no illegitimate business in the club, I can assure you. I'm a fully upstanding and legal citizen. You can check my sex status and everything. I don't tend to kill people in low sec or anything, or, you know, I'm a law-abiding citizen. There's just no laws out here, so anything I do is legal. Yeah, we're Nullsec pirates. I mean, that's kind of gonna be what we're doing. I want to bring that back since now there is kind of an opportunity. Like, for one thing, none of the majors care about NPC regions, and so it's a good place for us to grow. Assuming we can fight with the locals. You know, there's locals we have to fight, but they're not backed up by majors in most of the NPC regions. So there's a way in there. Plus, the concern of traffic through PF346 or places like that is not something they care about anymore. They've got jump freighters, they've got all kinds of stuff to avoid having to care about that, right? So there's nothing that should make us inherently provoke some kind of excessive response from those people, as long as we are to a degree careful in how we pick our targets. Not on roams, like we'll shoot everyone there, because that's just nullsec. If you don't shoot someone white, you're doing something wrong. Like standing white, neutral, as opposed to red and blue for unfriendly and friendly. But yeah, like we're just trying to get a little basis here to grow and settle, which it's a bit of a struggle, but you know we'll get there. It's just yeah, like the people who are living in Spain, they don't. A lot of them don't want us living here. Some of them don't mind. Like a lot of them don't mind either. But like, there's at least one group, the Red Sacks, or what? Or not Red Sacks, Good Sacks, that they try to drive out any new people that settle here, and they'll do all kinds of cheesy bullshit to fucking do it. And yeah, I will have my revenge someday on them, even though like they're still like, okay, they're bigger than us, but they're beneath us. You know, they're fucking aspiring to their mediocrity, and that they're stuck being a mediocre fucking corporation that they're all just fucking bored and staying, right? And they got one or two guys that gets to go around looking for targets. So, and then, you know, if they get engaged on and don't have a free kill, they got fucking five guys bored right the fuck out of their mind, sitting in a black ops ready to jump in, but only if they get engaged on. So 90% of the time they're just fucking sitting around doing nothing. And then they probably got some more guys in reserve, even more than that. Like, it's I could not like that. Does not sound fun to me to be there. And further than that, like they have no aspirations really. Like they're not doing any serious growing or anything. They're just stagnant and think they're hot shit because they've been here a while. Like, nah, fuck off. They're gonna get wrecked someday. Um, they're gonna lose all those black ops. They're gonna lose whatever else they're hiding behind them, and yeah, we'll destroy them all. There's always a time for war, and if the time for war comes, borders tend to change. But yeah, hopefully. Well, we'll see. But yeah, there's definitely wars in the game. The I think there needs to be a few more. Like there needs to be more interesting, multi-sided, or just random wars. Like these coalitions that are all allied to the goon should stop being pussies and rise up against them and fight a war. Same with PanFam. That's my opinion. Stop being pussies and fucking take your own thing. Stop being part of PanFam. Every fucking alliance in PanFam, every corp in there, they're all. I find them kind of pathetic with their approach to the game. Like, okay, maybe the leaders of it, you can kind of respect what they did. They built the empire, right? But all the joiners of like this thing that is just like anti-fun and try to minimize all risk, make everything as easy as possible all the time, and then just sap away the fun from the game gradually from everyone by becoming this big thing that everyone thinks they have to join, and then they have to join in with their fucking shitty attitudes and shitty play styles that, and I don't mean in terms of shitty as in being unsuccessful, just being unfun. That like ultimately this is a game, and those alliances are not giving the majority of their 50,000 members much fun. And I think it's generally like anti-fun to be in those alliances. They just are the people there think it's the best way to make their numbers go up, right? And that's all it is. Not to say no one has fun there, but yeah, like I don't know if you've ever experienced the 12 hours a day of waiting for something to happen and just doing that day after day in a war, or just to have that okay, they've attacked during the night when half your fleet is like falling asleep or whatever, right? Like, and then yeah, like it. There's I think smaller gangs fighting is generally more fun, often more interesting. But I mean, then you can't have that story where it's like, oh, this battle deleted, $5 million worth of assets from the game, So there is that aspect where it's like it sounds epic, but then if you get there and you get time dilated because there's too many people in system, and one of your actions that would normally take 5 seconds suddenly takes 5 minutes, then it still might, the epicness might slightly make up for it, but I think you're still not overall enjoying that experience. And that is 90% of a war between major powers, is just waiting. And more than that, like 95. Or you warp into a structure and you shoot it and you wait for its shields to drop, and then you have to come back later and wait to finish it off, with the whole mechanic there. It's often just waiting for something to happen if you're in a fleet. Maybe you're waiting for action, or you're just waiting for the boring thing you're doing to finish, with stripping a structure of its hit points or whatever, or you're just shooting some structure. It's one of the dumbest things you can do, like, and dumbest in terms of like you don't need a brain to do it. You just press your buttons, turn them on, and just sit there, right? Go watch Netflix or something, wait and see if anyone shouts out, "Oh no, hostiles," or whatever.
You mentioned the group Good Sacks was camping your headquarters and killing your new bros. Do you think that was a rogue action or intentional?
I think that's their official policy of what they want to do. Yeah, yeah, that's not an isolated thing. That it's what they do, and it's not just us. They've tried, like other people have tried to come and live in Spain before, and have had this happen to them, and they do it to everyone that tries to come and live here. Um, yeah, for whatever reason, they don't want anyone else living here. Uh, So yeah, whether it will come to negotiation, I imagine the only time they'll talk is after they lose. And if they've already lost, I don't see a need to talk to them then. Unless it's about their unconditional surrender. And then maybe I'll have terms for them then, but I don't know, they could give me all their money and maybe give me all their members. I don't know.
Nice.
Yeah, maybe I'd let them form a subsidiary corp in the alliance, but they'd probably have to give me all their money first. Anything they got left in their corp alliance wallets, anything in their war assets, I'd want all of it. Maybe I'll, you know, will that stance never soften? Right now, I'm pissed off at them. But I'm not gonna go easy on them ever. Like, you know, they will, at the minimum, I'll say, it'll cost them their pride to ever have peace with me. They'll have to apologize for all transgressions and beg forgiveness, and I do mean beg. You know, they'll have to say, "Please forgive me" or something like that. I think that's what would hurt them the most, actually, because they're so proud of themselves right now. So forcing them to humble themselves publicly in front of my alliance and even on the forums, possibly. I might be happy with that. I might take all their money too, though. That might be a thing I would do.
When I went to Stain, I couldn't help but notice there is nothing out there.
Stain is an old player's haven. There's many old players here, so they're not going to bother with Tech 1 stuff, right? It's basically all Tech 2 down here, if it is here. Which the availability of Tech 2 is not too bad. You won't find everything, but I've found bits and pieces down here that I wanted that I forgot to bring in my big supply runs down here setting up. Yeah, there's little bits here, but yeah, like obviously you're not going to find any JIT-alike market here right now. Could that change someday when we're in control of the region and Stain becomes its own little trade hub somehow, at least within my alliance? Yeah, sure. Yeah, like I imagine we'll populate the market eventually. But yeah, I mean that's the thing is that there's a reason why the market's not populated. It's because the region's barely populated. Like there's not many people here at all. So there's no one to stock the market with anything. They would have to have some teeth to them, but I mean we are open to particularly if they want to join the alliance. They have to be able to fight a bit, but if their main thing is industry, I'm okay with that if they want to help populate the market here and everything. But yeah, I mean, one of the main things we need is more people that can fight. So if we're looking for a corp, one of the main things would just be maybe a tight-knit PvP corp or, you know, even a somewhat decent-sized one. But yeah, I mean, I'm not against having some industry down here. It's just they should be able to fight a bit too. Like that's kind of my thing. Like, you know, you should be able to always fight a bit, even Care Bears or whatever. You can't just say fully Care Bear. You got to be able to fight.
Is there anything else you'd like to say to the EVE Online community?
Death to the goons and PanFam. Long live freedom and all that.